Deadline for UC admissions is approaching soon, and writing a college essay can be challenging. If your dean is applying to any university this fall, they don't want to put off creating that personal essay statement, the best one possible. And Dr. Cynthia Colón is a former college admissions officer at Vassar College and the author of Be Committed, Get Admitted, a great title.
And she is here now with how to avoid some of the pitfalls writing that college essay. Good morning. You know, I have a high school freshman, so I was like, I need to ask you all the questions. And I think the essay brings kids and their parents alike a lot of anxiety. And you say the essays are less about accomplishments and accolades, more about your personality, which can be hard to put into an essay.
Yes, it's definitely more about personality than accomplishments. Students make the mistake of thinking that they can make their essay stand out by focusing on something that they shined in, where they were the winner. But actually the truth is, the personal statement should be something I cannot find anywhere else in the application. Some story that only you can write. Now with the University of California, they have 4 PIQs. So I would use that same advice for 1 or 2 of those essays. And then the others that you're very likely writing about something that's already somewhere else. Think less about what you did and more about why it was important to you.
That's a good tip, very good tip. And you say there are 4 things that students almost always write about. We used to joke about this, the admissions people at Berkeley Journalism School used to say, like, finding a voice for the voiceless is in every single essay. But you have tips on how to approach these topics, and maybe you have some advice on how to find a different topic.
Absolutely. So literally tens of thousands of students will write about community service or athletics. So with athletics, I remember this student, he was on the basketball team, he was also coaching basketball at his church, but then he used our exercise and he pivoted and wrote about his Michael Jordan shoe collection and how he was saving money to buy the flu shoe. So that's much more about personality because the other things I'll already see somewhere else. For community service, I remember Mateo, he solved the problem of finding volunteers for the city of Oakland. So he started a nonprofit. So that essay now becomes more about his leadership and being the CEO of a nonprofit and less about literally the community service part.
And I want to pivot a little bit and ask you about that, because that is something I heard. You know, it was all about like start a nonprofit, volunteer. But then I was hearing that a lot of college admissions also view volunteerism as really privileged, right? Because if you can afford to do something and not be paid and spend all this time. And so now I'm hearing there's like a real shift to get kids to actually work, like be in the workforce.
I love this question. Christine, okay, you're like my
speaking
jam.
your language.
I'm speaking my language. So when I work with my clients, I say, like, there's no need to go to Costa Rica or somewhere else that you're paying to go do work. There's plenty to do here in Los Angeles, right? Or whatever your city is. So think about that, number 1. Number 2, work experience is, there's gold, life lessons, skills that are going to be valuable for you to have in college. So when you can, again, right, it's not about what you're doing for those 4 years. It's about how you're going to be able to share those stories, right? Interested students become interesting applicants. So having a job is going to pay dividends.
Even just a summer job?
Absolutely.
Okay. And, you know, that's an interesting time with the Supreme Court ruling on affirmative action. So it seems to me, I don't know, but it would seem that the essay would be a good chance to get challenges that you faced in life, maybe due to racism, or maybe due to poverty or whatever, to put those in the essay and show what you can overcome, right?
In my TED Talk, I talk a lot about we can only judge you based on what you decide to put in those essays. That's the only thing I can admit you or deny you on. So what you put in there gets reviewed, what's omitted doesn't get reviewed. So thinking about life challenges, you want to think about making sure that you're still the star of the show, whether you're writing about people who you've admired or life obstacles. You want to think, okay, this one young woman lost her mom and she wrote about the pain of that. And then in draft 4, she finally, in draft 4, she finally wrote about teaching her younger brother how to cook pizza in the oven. Now I understand who she's become since that event. She's a responsible young woman. She's a role model to her brother, and she's a second parent in the home. That's much more valuable information for me to know in the story and in the essay. So you're absolutely right. Think about all the things you need to say as part of your life story in the entirety of the application.